Welcome to the Go Slow to Go Fast Lifestyle Podcast, where we explore the art of intentional living. Whether you're juggling life as a working parent, leading in your profession, or simply seeking more meaning in your everyday, this space is for you. I'm your host, Kendra Chapman, and today we're tackling something we all struggle with, the comparison game. Yes, so the comparison game. It's so easy to scroll through social media and look around at colleagues or friends and feel like we're falling short. But here's the truth. Your journey is uniquely yours, and confidence starts when you embrace that truth. Today, I'll be sharing 3 powerful ways to stop comparing yourself to others and start stepping into your confidence every single day. Plus, I'll highlight a practical mindset, which will shift to help you bring more peace and self-assurance into your daily routine. So if you're ready to stop playing the comparison game and start showing up as the best version of yourself, grab a cozy drink, join me on the couch or in your car or while you're working out, and let's get into everything today. Let's dive in. So in segment 1, I'm going to continue talking about what's bringing me hygge, what's making me feel comfy and cozy this week. So I'm wearing overalls today because it's spring break in my school system. Although I'm a principal, I work a lot during those off times when kids are out. But I have 2 days where central office is out, so I'm definitely embracing those days off. And I'm taking my own children on a field trip to go to judge livestock. We're driving about an hour and a half away from where we live to a livestock arena where the 4-H group is teaching children how to judge livestock. So they get to judge cows and sheep and pigs. And I think that's it. Cows, sheep, and goats. So they're going to judge 4 different types of animals based on the different criteria that they've been working on at their 4-H meetings. So it's going to be exciting to see how that works out and see if I have any future farmers in the family. I come from a long line of farmers, but we haven't really had any livestock that we've been responsible for on our farm. We lease the land to a neighbor who has cattle on our land right now. So it's just nice to see that the boys are taking an interest in getting to understand and learn about how that works, what that part of the world is like, and taking care of animals, large animals. So, and I've always been a fan of James Herriot and those stories, the show that was popular on BBC in the 70s, and I grew up watching that, but now I know there's a new version of it. I haven't really watched it because I really had like a connection to the characters from the original version of the show. Because Siegfried was one of my favorite characters, and he's recently died. I can't think of the actor right now, but I'll definitely mention that later when I can update this episode. But I just, it's just something about being around animals and taking care of animals that have always brought me hygge. So I get to wake up and hang out with my kids today. So that's what's bringing me hygge today. Also, just, really just taking stock, play on words there, taking stock in my life and being grateful for what I get to do instead of what I have to do. So I could easily get up this morning and think about, my first day of vacation. I've got things I've got to, take my kids to, but I'm shifting that mindset and thinking about how I'm going to spend time with them and what we're going to do after and what we're going to talk about on the way there and the way back. So I get to wake up and be with my kids today. And so sometimes some days I've got to really walk myself through that a little bit better. I'm not perfect. I have moments where I am in my own thoughts and want to wallow in my own issues and my own problems, and I don't want to see the bigger picture. But then you know, usually I bring myself back to the fact that I need to be grateful because there's lots of other people out there in the world who are in a worse spot than me. I get to wake up healthy. I get to go to work and get paid to help people, which is what I've always wanted to do. And while I may change my mindset around what kind of work I want to do to help people, I still get to do that every day and I get paid for it. And I get to be a mom and a partner to somebody who makes me better every day. And so that is huge. That's, not everybody in the world can say they get to do that. So I need to be grateful for that. And so you get the picture. When you start framing things in this way, your mindset shifts. And if you've never tried a gratitude journal, I encourage you to try it out. And you don't have to necessarily write it down. You could just think of 3 things that you're grateful for each morning when you wake up. And it could be literally something about your physical being, like your body. It could be something about your feelings about the day. And it could be something about, what you get to do during that day. Find joy. Find one thing that you can be positive about in your day. And so that's 3 things right there. So try it out. And the more you start doing it, the more you're going to realize I could keep going on this list. And you realize you're really more grateful about the things that are free in life that do take time to cultivate and nurture. But those are the people and the things and the experiences that you're going to value the most because they're going to give you so much in return. So if you've never tried a gratitude journal, I encourage you to try. Give it a shot this week. And it's a great way to start your day with confidence and positivity. So in segment 2, I'm going to talk about my Huga highlight, 3 ways to stop comparing and build confidence. So I'm exploring the principles of a slow living experience, and overcoming the comparison game is part of that, I think. Just really getting out of that comparison trap, because it can lead to more intentional, fulfilling feelings around your life. And I've found several insightful articles that delve into these topics. So I'm going to talk about 6 of them. 1, life's enough. Stop comparing yourself to others, right? This is an article by Zen Habits. It discusses how to become aware of comparison triggers and shift your focus to personal blessings, fostering contentment. And that's by Zen Habits. So if you want to look them up, life's enough. Stop comparing yourself to others. It just talks more about just, what I just mentioned, just really be thinking about what you're grateful for. And the second article, Comparison, It's a Losing Game. This is from Slow Your Home, and it emphasizes the dangers of comparison and the importance of making decisions based on personal values rather than assumptions about others, right? Because, social media, if you think about it, people are showing their best self on social media and they're not showing all sides of themselves. I don't have a perfect day every day. I don't have, many moments where I feel like I could get on social media and post. And I've really been having to work on that in the last couple of weeks. I've tried to post more often and forget about what I look like and forget about what I'm going to say, that it doesn't sound perfect and it's okay. I can put stuff out into the world that's not perfectly perfect. And so I'm having to work through that, but I'm starting to let go and it's more freeing. I feel more light about that. And I may not do as much on social media in the coming months, but right now I'm just trying it out to see how it goes. But yeah, think about how there are so many people out there that are putting a certain side of them out on social media, or when they come to a function that maybe you meet up with them once a month and you see them and you think their life's perfect, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You don't know what their home life is like. You don't know what they're feeling every day. And so some people just put on a really brave face because they don't want other people to see that they're struggling, or they don't know how to confide in people or let people in. So there's lots of reasons why people are going through what they're going through in silence. And so I think the more we can talk about it, the more we can put it out there that we need to share that the struggle is real, and that we all have moments where we doubt ourselves. We all have moments where we complain. We all have moments where we shift and we figure out, oh, I can do this. There are ways, you rally around yourself and you talk to others and they lift you up. And when you find that group of people that really bring out the positive in you, that's amazing. Keep it going. I would say that's a great way to shift, is surround yourself with people who make you feel better and bring only positive intention and positive thoughts. And that has been one of my mantras, one of my prayers in my meditation practice that I have written down and said quite often is, please surround me with people who have my best and highest interest in mind and are doing things to support me that I don't even know, and have only my best interest in mind and are going to be positive, so you can attract negative people and you can attract positive people. So why not attract positive people? Or why not attract positive experiences? I think you can really change that and attract more of the positive in your life. So that is, it's part of that law of attraction that we've heard about for the past 20 plus years. But I see it working. I play a little game with myself where I write down what I want to invite in for the week. I try to do this on Sundays. Sometimes that happens on a Monday morning, but I write down 3 things that I want to focus on for the week. And then I write down ways that I can make that happen. So I chunk it out and try to map it out. And when I do that, I also think, please surround me with people that are going to help me make sure these things happen. Please surround me with only experiences in my work that are joyful. Please, ensure that my school community is safe. Please ensure that my family is safe. So I go through this whole thing where I really just try to build out this positive, safe, supportive experience. And then I reflect later, at the end of the week to see how many of those things happened, or, what other surprises came true or came up that I realized that, people really are doing what they can to help me, because I've invited it in, and 2, I've, adjusted my mindset to be more positive. And I think when you're more positive, people want to be around you. More positive people want to be around you. When you're negative, then you're attracting those negative Nellies that just want to stop and complain and, bring you down. So there's also an article on how to stop comparing yourself to others in Psychology Today, which offers practical tips such as identifying and avoiding triggers to help break free from the comparison cycle. And this is just really thinking about ways to really just avoid the triggers, the things that are going to set you off. So kind of like what I said, if there are things that you can do to surround yourself with positive people and avoid the things that trigger you, why not? The 4th article, how I learned to stop comparing myself to others. This is from Healthline. It shares a personal journey and strategies for recognizing one's unique value, moving away from detrimental comparisons. And I think for me, it's really, I need to stay off social media and looking at all these people who are doing, things that I'm doing or trying to do that are similar, and not worrying about it, because I think, that's coming from a place of lack. That's coming from a place of not having enough. And there is enough to go around for everybody. And, one, we're born in this body that we have, and we can do what we can to enhance it if we want to look different. I've recently, just yesterday, darkened my hair because I had a lot of dark hair coming in, and I just thought, why fight it? Why don't I just embrace my new dark hair color that's been coming in for the last few years instead of trying to cover it up with blonde? And so I'm embracing my natural color, and this is new for me, and I'm like, why not? But I've learned to stop comparing myself to others. There are times when I still do, but the more I can revisit that thinking, the better for me. And the fifth article is Breaking Free from the Comparison Trap, Why It's Time to Embrace Your Own. This is from LinkedIn, which discusses focusing on personal journeys to find fulfillment without comparing oneself to others. And yeah, we all do it. It's human nature to compare ourselves to other people. But if we can stay focused on who we are and what we value, that's going to help us center and realize that we need, just like every snowflake is different, right? Just like every, other thing in nature is different and special. We are too. So we need to be really focusing on that. There is nobody else out in the world like us, and there will never be anybody like us ever again. So that is special, and we all have something to offer. We all have something special to share and to give to others, and so why not embrace that and not all the other negativity and all the other negative things that we come up with, because that's part of our ego. Our ego is going to get us to be, thinking in that way and start making us question things. And when I started thinking about how I was going to roll out this podcast, what I wanted it to be about, and I started on this journey, it was in the fall of 2023 when I started realizing that podcast was the direction I wanted to go. And so I started working with one of my coaching friends, and Delia Racinez. She's an instructional coach that I worked with back in a school system on the East Coast when we were together becoming instructional coaches. And since then, she's become an entrepreneur. She is a writer, and she has her PhD, and she's been doing all these amazing things and putting stuff out on social media. And so I asked her for advice, and she worked with me for several months. I still felt really incompetent on the just multiple things that she was doing really well. And so she helped me. She was my accountability partner. She got me thinking about all the things that I could do to get moving on my dream of building a podcast and putting a podcast out into the world so I could build content and, eventually have my own business and have a coaching platform one day. And so I'm focusing on the podcast right now, but eventually I hope to have a coaching business online with my website that I've started. And, I'm going slow to go fast. I'm taking my own advice. And that was something that we learned, both Delia and I, when we were first becoming instructional coaches. We had heard that from Peter Senge and the research that was shared with us in our training early on, like in like around 2005, 2006, around that time frame, and later. And then later I heard more about it from more of that idea mindset when I was listening to podcasts and reading books by Jim Knight, who is well known in the instructional coaching world or coaching world. But I started going down the path of, okay, I really want to revisit this go slow to go fast idea, this mindset, and what it could mean to me and what I would offer other people out in the world around this. And I started drafting out ideas about going slow to go fast and what that would look like. And I started researching to see out on the internet just to see if there were any other Go Slow to Go Fast podcasts or Go Slow to Go Fast websites or anything of those, anything along those lines. And I found this website um, by this writer who had a slow, website um, posting on the concept of going slow to go fast. And so I was reading that article and, I started to think, oh no, this Kowalski has an article out on the same concept of what I want to do as far as going slow to go fast. But, then I stopped and I thought, you know what? That's his voice. That's his take on things. That's his mindset. That's his angle. And there's enough for everybody. And so that was really the only time I could find anything on Go Slow to Go Fast, other than there was like one other podcast that was similar. I think it was called Grow Slow to Go Fast or Go Slow to Grow Fast. It was a play on that. And so there really wasn't a lot out there. And so I felt like I could just take my experience and share, my perspective. And there's enough to go around for everybody. And Kyle is a great writer. And since then, like literally in the last week, because as I was researching what I was going to talk about on this podcast, I was really thinking about, it's kind of like keeping up with the Joneses and that mindset. So let me research that because I used to watch reality TV. I don't anymore. It doesn't do anything for me anymore. I feel like I've moved on from that. Just watching people fight a lot of the time. And so, but I remember watching um, one of the Bravo shows on, because I always loved Charleston and Savannah. And so the Southern Charm version of Savannah, they had talked about briefly, one of the people on there said something about how Jones Street in Savannah was the beginning of the Keeping Up with the Joneses term. And so I thought, I remember that from whenever the show was on. That was probably at least 6 years ago. So that's what I searched the other day, Keeping Up with the Joneses, Savannah, uh, Georgia. Or, yeah, Georgia, because it's not South Carolina. And then I realized that Kyle Kowalski had an article on Keeping Up with the Joneses, which I thought was fascinating because I had tried to Google, which is a verb now. I tried to search the different origins of Keeping Up with the Joneses, and I didn't. I came across the one that seems to come up right away, which is about a comic strip that was by author Arthur Pop Momond, which was a popular phrase coined by an American cartoonist, Arthur Pop Momond, in his comic strip called Keeping Up with the Joneses, which came out around 1913, and it was in that area of history. But I was like, that doesn't sound right to me. Like that might have been, maybe he heard it. Pause. As long as the sound is down, I don't care. Let me finish recording. Kyle Kowalski. So number 5, breaking free from the comparison trap, why it's time to embrace your own path. This was a LinkedIn article, but it definitely points back to all the other things I've said about not wanting to compare yourself to others, whether it's on social media or what's out there on the internet. For example, I've been planning what I wanted to do with this podcast and how I was going to roll it out for about a year and a half before I put it out. And I did a slow launch over the summer of 2024, but I realized it wasn't the message that I wanted to put out there. So I scrapped it and I started over again in January of 2025. And I think it's been, it's off and going now. And it's not perfect and it's okay. It's not, I don't have to put every podcast out. Not every podcast that goes out has to be perfect, but I want to make sure that I'm building my message and building my brand. Number 5, breaking free from the comparison trap. Why it's time to embrace your own path. This was a LinkedIn article that provides valuable perspective and practical advice for embracing slow living. And, it just makes me think about recently. And then I found a website when I was first figuring out what kind of podcast I wanted to create, what my message was going to be. And I was looking into this and working with one of my coaching friends, Delia Racines, um, from Equity to Insight. She was really helpful in really pushing me out of my comfort zone and getting me to think about what my online message was going to be like in social media, because I really didn't do much in social media, didn't feel comfortable in Instagram. So I've definitely been working on that. But I started researching other thought leaders, other people out on the internet that were talking about going slow to go fast. And I didn't find a lot, but I did find one article on going slow to go fast, or at least this concept of slow living, or at least this concept of slow living by Cal Kowalski. And I thought, well, that's his angle, that's his take on the. And so I found this article by Cal Kowalski, who was writing about slow living. And I thought, well, that's cool. And it's definitely kind of the mindset of what I'm thinking. But I want to make it a podcast. I don't want to write articles. I don't really feel like blogging right now. I don't want to write a book, but I could use this podcast to create content. And then maybe one day I'd write a book. But for now, I felt like I needed to use the podcast to do a lot of research and hone in on what I wanted to speak about and really just dive deep into research because I'm a lifelong learner. I like to learn about different concepts and then also teach. And so I thought podcasting would be the great, space for me to do that. And so I didn't, at first I thought, oh, if there's going to be a lot of people out on the internet who talk about going slow to go fast, which is a Peter Senge term, I've taken his idea and just applied it to what my experience has been like and created a podcast on it, but it's not a new idea. But it's okay because there are other people that are going to be out in the world that might do similar things to you. If you want to be an entrepreneur, or you want to write, or you want to speak, or you want to create something, and then you feel like, oh, somebody else is already doing it. It's okay, because you're going to put your own personal spin on it. You're going to be different than anybody else, because it's about you and what you bring to the table. And so, while sometimes I get a little worried about, I don't want anybody to think I'm plagiarizing them, because I went back to actually look up basically the origin or the history behind the phrase of keeping up with the Joneses, which goes along with this theme today of the comparison game. And keeping up with the Joneses, when I researched it, I remembered watching like a reality show several years ago that took place in Savannah, Georgia. And one of the people on the show said, Keeping Up with the Joneses is based on, one of the first families in Savannah, and we have a road named after them, and it was all this, and I was like, oh, because I'm a history buff, I'm always interested in history. I love Savannah and I love Charleston, so that just stayed with me. And then when I searched it the other day, does this Keeping Up with the Joneses have anything to do with Savannah, Georgia? Who did I come up on is Kyle Kowalski, and he had actually written an article on the 5 origin stories of keeping up with the Joneses. So I started looking at this article, and then I started looking at his website, which looked like it had been updated since the last time I had come across him in the fall of 2023. So he may have just updated his website, but it is comprehensive. It is a deep dive on slow living and having that intentional lifestyle. And I thought, wow, we're really on the same wavelength on a lot of things. And then I realized he actually, when I was researching more on his website, he's been on several podcasts as a guest, and he's been talking about this and researching this for a good 10 years. And so I'm not, at first I thought, oh gosh, he's going to think I've been plagiarizing him. But, I think if anything, he would be excited to hear that I've been looking on his website, that I'm talking about him on my podcast. I'm definitely going to put his information in the show notes, and I'm going to reach out to him and let him know. Oh, by the way, I've been doing some research and I came across your website for the second time, and I've been doing a deep dive. So thank you for all the research you've been doing. And we definitely have a lot in common when I've listened to him. We definitely have a lot in common as I've been listening to his story on some of the podcasts he's been on. So that's fascinating. And maybe one day I'll interview him. Never know, or collaborate with him. So I could have easily gone down the road of feeling like I needed to compare my work and my experience and my podcast to what Kyle Kowalski's doing, and think that, I'm never going to be as good as him. Well, I'm not going to be like him. I'm just going to add to the conversation. I'm going to, use his research to continue my thinking and go deeper. And I think that's what, based on what I've heard in podcast interviews and read online, I think that's what he would want. I think that's why he's doing this work. But, it's all for us to go deeper and to reflect and think about a way of slowing down and having more of an intentional life. And to do that, I think this is one of the ways we have to stop comparing ourselves to others and not have so much self-doubt. And when it comes up, because it will, we just need to rethink and shift, and we just need to pause. We just need to pause and think about what our voice brings to the world, what we bring to the world, and how we can make the world a better place. So let's talk about 3 intentional ways to step out of the comparison trap and into more confidence. So shifting your focus to progress over perfection. Instead of measuring yourself against someone else's highlight reel, right? Start tracking your own personal growth. So if you haven't been doing any kind of journaling, this would be a great way to do that. You could start writing down what you accomplished in the last year or what you've accomplished in the last month, and even in this past week, and start thinking about all the things that you have accomplished. So then you can start setting some goals for what you want to accomplish in the future. Because confidence builds when you acknowledge the small wins that are uniquely yours. So for me, I've really been trying to focus on losing weight and being more healthy. And I've lost 30 pounds, which is huge for me because it definitely took a toll on my body, and I didn't have the energy to spend time with my kids, and I just didn't have the energy at work, and I could feel it, and my clothes were starting to not fit. And so there were a lot of reasons why I needed to lose weight. And so I was able to do that. Now it's going to continue to be a thing because I'm 50. I have to really change the way I eat. I have to change my lifestyle around food and my mindset around food. So that's just one example. I got to focus on the small wins. And that didn't happen overnight. I've really been struggling with that for about a year now. So I'm glad I was able to hit that milestone of losing that first 5 pounds and then 10 pounds, and I keep tracking it. And so now I'm at my goal weight, and now I just need to keep it there. And so that's going to be the next step of maintaining my weight. Number 2, curate your social media and mental space. If certain accounts, conversations, or environments make you feel less than, it might be time to hit the unfollow button, or at least take a break. Be intentional about what you consume. So nobody says that you have to be on social media or look at certain things. So like me, I'm not really watching reality TV anymore. It just makes me feel yucky. I used to watch it, and I would watch several reality shows every night of the week. And I would record them and I would look forward to them. And it would just, in my mind, I was justifying the fact that I enjoyed watching someone else act like a fool and be crazy, because I just, I was pretty calm in my life. And so I just liked a little drama and just wanted to watch how other people fall apart. But now when I watch it, it just makes me feel yucky. And so I don't even enjoy it anymore. And so I've cut that out. And while I'm still on social media, I'm not on TikTok. I was on TikTok at one point, and I just realized how much time I was wasting just scrolling through and looking at videos. I mean, it's just not something that brings me joy. And so I've come off TikTok. I'm still on Facebook and Instagram, but I really watch how much time I'm on social media. So surround yourself with voices that uplift, encourage, and inspire you rather than make you doubt yourself. And the third thing that I would say would be a strategy to consider is practicing self-validation. Instead of seeking approval from others, ask yourself, what do I value? What makes me proud of myself today? Confidence doesn't come from external validation. It comes from recognizing your own worth and celebrating your unique. By embracing these shifts, by embracing these 3 shifts, you'll find yourself stepping into a more confident, self-assured version of yourself, free from the weight of comparison. So that's all for today's episode of the Go Slow to Go Fast Leadership. Nope. So that's all for today's episode of the Go Slow to Go Fast podcast. So I'd love to hear from you. What's one thing that's helping you feel more confident in your everyday? Let's keep the conversation going. Email me at coachingwithkendrachapman@gmail.com or check out my website, www.coachingwithkendrachapman.com, or send me a DM on Instagram. I'm at Coaching with Kendra Chapman. Tag me in your confidence journey. I'd love to see how you're stepping into your best self. Let's embrace this new season together with intention and confidence. If you've enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend. If you've enjoyed this episode, I'd love for you to consider sharing it with a friend or two who might need. If you've enjoyed this episode, I'd hope you consider sharing it with a friend or two who might need a little encouragement from the Go Slow to Go Fast podcast. And as always, stay connected. And as always, stay connected and remember, take it slow, be intentional, and embrace the season you're in. Because the confidence in me honors the confidence in you. And as you head into the next week, let your light and self-worth shine through. Until next time, take care, keep leading with purpose, and remember, go slow to go fast. Thanks for listening.